Hi guys, have you ever wondered what the role of the real estate lawyer is on a sale? Today I'm heading over to Angle Law to sign papers on a house that I sold in episode 5. And while I'm there, I'm going to ask her 6 common questions that people have when it comes to selling and buying a house. So let's go. So hi guys, I'm here with Lauren Angle at Angle Law, and I'm going to ask her 6 common questions that people have when it comes to real estate transactions, closings. Okay, Lauren, so what is the lawyer's role in a real estate closing?
Okay, so most importantly, the lawyer's role is to ensure that the transaction is legal and valid. Our role also comes in to explaining paperwork to clients, as well as meeting with them to explain the finer details of the transaction. We review oftentimes mortgage documentation with them as well. And I think most importantly, to give everyone peace of mind, we manage all of the money and the financial aspects of the transactions.
Okay, got it. So second question is, what are the closing costs and fees involved for a seller or buyer?
We try our very best to make sure that we are economical. And so with respect to fees, we always try and overestimate what those closing costs are to be expected. And so when it comes down to a purchase, we tell people to generally expect closing costs somewhere in the vicinity of about $1,800. And again, we always try and overestimate rather than underestimate. With respect to a sale, I think you'd be looking somewhere in and around the vicinity of about $900. And for a purchase, to be clear, that doesn't include the cost, the land transfer tax costs, because that's a case-by-case basis. So that would be over and above. But we really like to make sure that working with our office, make sure that your real estate transaction is as stress-free and efficient as possible.
So Lauren, just to follow up on that, for purchase of $400,000 for my buyers, what are they looking at for land transfer tax?
All right, so with respect to land transfer tax, it's actually calculated on a tiered system. So for a purchase price of about $400,000, you'd be looking at land transfer tax roughly around $4,500. And just a note on that, I know that many people understand that first-time home buyers are often exempt from paying land transfer tax, which is a wonderful solution for them. However, that exemption goes up to only $4,000, which means that any land transfer tax that's calculated over and above $4,000 would have to be paid by the purchaser. It's something good to keep in mind.
Thank you for that, Lauren. And I also want to ask you, what is a title search and what is it for?
So a title search is actually pulling the legal title to the property, or the PIN sheet is what we talk about. The reason we do that is, number one, to make sure that you're actually getting legal title to the property and that the person selling the property is the person who owns the property. We're also looking for any problems with the property or the title, such as liens that might be registered or other encumbrances that we might not necessarily know about. In terms of who does that title search, so we will pull the PIN for the property when we're acting for the purchasers. We don't do that when we're acting for the sellers because, number one, the sellers already know that they have title to the property, and the purchaser's lawyer will raise with us any problems that there might be with title to the property, and so we don't need to pull the PIN and incur that additional expense.
So just a few more questions left. When should a buyer or seller contact a lawyer?
So we always recommend contacting us once the conditions on the deal have been firmed up, unless we have a situation of what we call a quick close. So that would be anything that is going to be closing in under 2 weeks. We suggest you contact your lawyer immediately because that is quite a tight turnaround for all the work that goes into a real estate transaction. And then what I always suggest is that you should contact your lawyer if you ever have any questions or concerns with the agreement of purchase and sale, because a lawyer can review that and answer any questions before the deal is firm.
Okay, so how do utilities and property taxes get calculated on closing?
So with respect to utilities, what we're looking at is hydro, gas, and water. So for hydro and water, What we do is that we will write to both of those companies to advise of the closing of the property. What we also do is we also get the clients to contact them as well. That way we don't run into any issues that they didn't get proper contact. With respect to the gas company, they require that you actually go online and fill out a request for a move, and then they will calculate and figure out the cost of the final bill, and they will send that directly to the client. So with respect to property taxes, when you're living in the property, you're responsible for your property taxes up until the day of close. Property taxes are usually paid in quarterly installments or on a yearly basis. So what we do is that we do a prorated calculation of how many days you've lived in the property, and we figure out how much property taxes you've paid up until what date. And then someone is either going to get a credit for the property taxes that they've overpaid for the time that they've been at the property, or there will be a small amount owing that they will have to pay up until the date of closing. And we take care of that as an adjustment to the sale or purchase price on closing.
So Lauren, this is such great information, and I really hope that you guys enjoyed this. Did you have anything else to add to our conversation today?
Yes, actually, there's a couple of other things that I think would be good pieces of advice for anyone who is buying and selling. Number one, when you are buying or selling your property, it's always good to think about doing so on a Thursday or an earlier day in the week as opposed to a Friday. The reason I say that is because if your real estate deal doesn't close on the Friday and we're looking at having to extend, we're then going to have to extend until Monday, which is a number of extra days and can create a lot of delays, which people aren't expecting. Next, I would say if you're buying and selling, the best thing that you can do is to have those closing on different days. What you don't want to run into is a situation where one of your transactions doesn't close and we're looking at having to extend to another day. And particularly if that is falling over a weekend or a long weekend, that can create a lot of issues for people. As well as if your purchase closes but not your sale, that can also create other issues. So it's always good to give yourself a couple of days in between to avoid any of those unnecessary or unexpected delays. So the last piece of advice that I have for people is that what you can do is you can write a condition into your agreement of purchase and sale that makes it subject to lawyer review. This is always a good idea, especially if you find yourself writing in any specific conditions that aren't one of the standard conditions that we find relating to financing or mortgage, anything like that. You're definitely going to want a lawyer to look over that. One thing that I can let you know is that here at Angle Law, we always review an agreement of purchase and sale at no charge, just to ensure that everybody knows what they're getting into before the agreement becomes final, before we have no opportunity to correct any issues that might arise.
Well, Lauren, I just want to thank you for all this incredible information today, and you're very knowledgeable. And you guys out there, if you're looking for a lawyer, she's the best, and Christina as well, who is the law clerk. So thank you for having me today, and thank you for answering all the questions for me today.
Yes, thank you very much for asking me, and feel free to contact if you have any questions.
Don't forget to like and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. See you in the next episode.